that should work. How does this do its thing? Do its thing. Oh, okay. So I guess that okay, interesting. Sure. Seems fine. Hello. Well, nobody's here yet, I don't think. But hello anyway. Let's see here. We are going to make a very interesting a live streamed thing. I'll kind of hang out until people show up. If they show up, we'll see. But yeah, how do you introduce this? Live streamed hot seat global game? I don't know how to describe it. That's sort of what I'm thinking of. It's sort of I guess I can kind of show it. So just got the notification. Okay, cool. So here's sort of what we're making. It's going to take me a bit to set this up. So Unity's on the other screen. This is the second version of OBS. This is actually a separate branch written by the Mixer people. And so this is sort of what I've been working on. But if I go here and start streaming, that's going to record Unity playing over on my other monitor. If I open up, say, Chrome and bring it over here, eventually it should pop up. Maybe. I think this is set up correctly. Well, we're going to find out. But so this is kind of all janky, but unless this is overriding something, let me... I've never tried this on a stream before, so this is going to be interesting. It seems like it's good. I don't know why it isn't. Why you no live stream? I swear this was working. Okay, it's not just me. Okay, maybe. So anyway, if I can get this to work, Mixer does near real-time stuff. So if I connect to, say, this Unity instance over here, I can actually interact with it live-ish. Actually, I think... What's going on? Have I destroyed everything? I think I've destroyed everything. Okay, there we go. So I can move up, and you can see almost instantly it starts moving. So like if I push up, it'll start going. If I pull a trigger, I can shoot. And it's close enough to real time that I think you can actually play like this. So what we're trying to do is take this live stream and actually distribute out a controller so you can plug in your input device. Stretch goal is to make it its own like website with this embedded on it somehow. And that way you could play it literally anywhere because we can just grab the controller input or whatever. That's probably not going to be the case. It's going to be a Unity fork initially. That's what we're going to be hopefully working on now. So what we need to do effectively is find a way to actually stream this input to the host system, to my computer probably. And that way you can actually get your information and then send it where you need to and actually simulate it. And then really all you have is just a bunch of people in a queue sending your information in. So I kind of talked through this game a little bit a long time ago, and then it kind of fell away just because I didn't have the time and I didn't really consider it. But anyway, this is sort of the grand scheme, is to build something that can be interacted with. So this is close enough. It's close enough to real time where I think it can work. Whether that's the case or not, we'll see. But so there's two ways of working with this. So the first is you're actually in the game playing. And that would be you're that person there and you can shoot. I deselected the window, so that's not going to work. But you'd be able to run around and shoot and stuff. The other people are going to either be just watching the stream casually, or they're actually going to be other players waiting to jump into the game. So there will be a limited number of people who can actually play. And then everybody else will just be in a queue. And so when you die, somebody else gets swapped in. So their goal, everybody's goal that's kind of watching the chat, is either to help you, if for some reason they want to help you, or to get you killed. And so that's sort of what these are. These get sent back to Unity. I have a plugin that Mixer has created. So that theoretically what will happen is there will be options in game, like say a boss or a drop box or something, like a power-up, or maybe you want to purchase enemies to attack the player or something. If you pick those, then you change the game however you wanted to. And so, yeah, that's sort of how I'm picturing this going. Whether that actually happens or not, I have no idea. But yeah, that's the game in 5 minutes. So I'm going to stop this now because my computer probably hates streaming two things. So let's just stop that. But this is sort of where we're at. It's super basic. I have not had as much time as I wanted, but it's sort of a pixelated shooter thing. So that's literally all there is. We've got bullets working, some destruction, and the camera. I did a separate video on that earlier, and that kind of does its own thing. But this stream is pretty much all about getting that networking bit working, which I have no idea how that's going to go. I don't really have much experience with Unity's new networking stuff, and that's probably what we're going to be using just because I want to open source this. And so, yeah, we need to use Unity's stuff for that, which means we're kind of, well, I have to figure out what it actually does, which is great because that means we're now using like 3 libraries I don't know anything about in this game. So that's fun. So I think we'll just start by doing something. The first thing we need is sort of a way to sort of display just an IP so that people can actually connect to this. So is that a good idea? Just like a flat IP displayed on stream. I feel like that's a really good way to get like denial of service. We'll go with it and see what happens. It's easy enough to change later. Also, we need to do, at some point, we need to come up with like a world generator, because this currently is, if I can zoom out a bit, currently it's just this, and that's kind of lame. So we're going to fix that. Let's see here. Text? Sure, we can do text. IP? We'll stick it the classic IP. There we go. Put that in the top, I guess. Make it white, and we'll add an outline. Sure. Okay, that's not in the top. Oh, there we go. Then let's just give it a little bit of padding so you can actually see it. That wasn't what I meant to do. Top. There we go. I have officially lost the text. What am I doing? So if it's 10 from the left and stretched horizontally, that should make sense. And then do I need to kick it down? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so kick it down by 30. Let's do 10 plus 15, 25. There we go. So there is a basic IP. Hold. I'm trying to think, is there a good way to do this? Because I don't really want to just throw my IP out there. That might not be the best idea. Uh, I'd probably regret that because I have. Is there a way around that? There's probably a way around that. We can figure that out. For now, I think I can just use home. That should work. So anyway, basic text done. We have that. Okay, good. Everything works. I don't know why I didn't expect it to, but it's there. So now comes the fun part. There's two ways I kind of want to do this. I want to have a connect. So I don't want everybody, depending on the size of this, I don't want necessarily everybody to just establish a network connection and just stay connected. I don't think that's a good idea. Mostly because if you get into like a large stream, you're going to have hundreds of people watching your stream theoretically, assuming you get big. And then the issue with that is you have 100 connections open on your server, streaming data to all of those clients. I don't want that to happen. So what I've been thinking of is doing some sort of like ping and kind of you register and then it does a keep alive loop. So effectively it'd just be a TCP connection. You say, I want to connect and here's my information. It kind of registers you to that IP or whatever. And then the server will just constantly ping you back and forth. I think that'll work. I don't know. If you guys have other ideas, that'd be great. Because I'm literally making this up on the fly. Because I don't know what I'm doing. So I think we're going to just do some basic connection pool stuff. So let's create like a client. Let's create like a shared folder here. So I've split everything up between client and server because the basic idea is we are going to have everything here just be the same. And the only thing that's kind of splitting it apart is the client and the server. And those are just separate scenes. They're not separate projects or anything. It's just a separate scene that'll eventually get split out because effectively the client is just a web service or going to be. So yeah, I don't know. Let's see here. Connection. Let's create a connection pool. I'm not going to fill these out yet. I'm just going to throw them together. Let's do a connection pool, a connected player. Come on. There we go. And what else do we need? A connection pool will store all of our players. The connected player is just going to be information about that player. So it'll be like how many times they've played, when they first joined, their username, maybe where they're from, maybe a preferred color or something. I don't know. What else? Connection pool, connected player. Connection listener. And so that listener is going to actually listen for connections. So I think I want Unity to respond. There we go. I hope that for some reason it's being really slow. I just upgraded my computer before this, and I have no idea. Awesome. Thank you, Mohammed. That would be awesome because I don't really know. We're going to start with some TCP stuff. So we'll see where we get, but all of the actual information is going to be sent. So like keyboard inputs or controller inputs is all going to be sent over Unet. So that would be very helpful. Especially if you have like links or something and you want to share those, that'd be great. Let's see here. Connection. Controller? Sure. Why not just call everything a controller? It adds absolutely no value and just adds an extra word to type. Sure, why not? All right, being a little bit cynical there. But let's do here. So connection pool will store our players. Connection listener will listen for them. This is going to be the game, so this should work here. Let's see how Unity does TCP stuff. So I know we did DataSphere like 4 or 5 months ago, and we kind of did some basic TCP stuff. We're going to see if I remember any of that. Yeah, TCP listener. Cool. Does Unet, you might know this, does Unet support like TCP stuff? Like if I want to just ping it, have a client ping, we can actually find that out. 1 sec. This will work. Okay. Nice, it just pasted that. TCP stuff. This is not what I wanted. Unity networking TCP. Because I would assume it'd use that might work actually if we do an RPC. We could try that, and that would avoid all of this listener stuff. So let's see what we can do with that, because I actually like that idea. Because so an RPC is a remote procedure call, which effectively just says, see this server, do this over there, and it kind of throws functions at a server and just tells it to do stuff. So theoretically, we could do everything I was going to do with that. But I don't know how, so we're going to have to figure that out. Unity RPC tutorial. So this is going to be interesting. Let's see here. RPC tutorial. Okay, so that makes sense. So it's similar to how it used to be. So the RPCs, you just label them as RPC, it looks like. So we'll create a public void. Yeah, if you have suggestions, I know there's like a little delay in the chat, but if you have suggestions and want to throw them out there, I will go back and see what we can do, because I would prefer, even though this is like a game jam thing, I would much rather prefer we do this the right way than whatever. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, you're right. RPC is legacy, so don't use this. Ignore me. Network view, obsolete. I should read stuff before I just start copy and pasting. That would be smart. This method group is obsolete. Don't use that. Okay. Do we not need RPC then? Client RPC. Okay, well that worked. That was surprising. So, does it work the same way? Let's find out. Well, here's how it works. So, effectively, it's going to do a loop, more or less, and send stuff back and forth. So, commands are sent from player objects on the client to player objects on the server. For security, commands can only be sent from your player object. So effectively, a command could only be sent, like you would say, move me forward or move me left or move me right, but you couldn't move somebody else in the game. So that's what those would do. Client RPC. From objects on the server to objects on clients. So would an RPC be a good idea? I'm not sure. If this has to be from server to client, I don't know if that makes, if we can do that. Because ideally I don't want to keep the connections open to every client. Only the ones that are actually playing, I want to keep the connection open. Though actually, screw it. This will be easier if we actually just have everybody stay connected. So I'm thinking effectively it's going to be as many people as connect to a stream. So if you're thinking like larger people, that's going to be potentially hundreds or thousands of people, which you can't open that many sockets and have it perform well, especially just on a single thing. There's no way you can easily handle that. Is there a good way? Do we need to worry about that? Should we worry about that? Is that worth worrying about now? Yeah, see, but sockets are so low level. Like, so the reason I was looking at like the TCP listener is because it's that one step above. It's a step above just basic sockets. And so when you get to sockets, you have to handle all of the protocol and stuff yourself. And I don't really want to deal with that. So part of the reason I'm kind of coming back and forth is it would be really cool to be able to, like, I showed the mixers thing. Oh, that's right, they're gone. But there's an interactive thing on Mixer, those buttons I showed. We could add additional ones to the game. So say you want to like take control of a boss, for example. We could just have like players bet and maybe be thrown into a pool. So all of those people waiting could suddenly, somebody could take control of the boss and maybe they get a kill and suddenly become a player or something like that. I don't, let's, I don't really like sitting here, but I also I'd like to get it right. So I think our options are, we can create a TCP listener, and that will just accept raw connections, so anybody can just connect, and it will be ensured it's delivered on time and in order because it's TCP. Or we can do like RPCs and commands, and just everybody just gets their own object. So when you connect, an object is created for you, just some random player that kind of puts you in a queue. And that's kind of all handled by Unity, which would be easier. And then everybody just stays connected, which would be nice. But then if we get too many, then the server gets swamped and everything just dies. On the other hand, the TCP listener is going to be harder. We're going to have to implement it ourselves. And all of that like keep alive stuff has to be done manually. This is a fun problem. I hadn't even considered like keeping the object alive. Yeah, that's the thing is I agree that most multiplayer things in game engines are designed for a few people. Like Battlefield is pushing the limit and they do like 100 some. Whereas like if we did TCP, I think we could easily have thousands of people connect to this. And I don't think we'd have a problem, especially if we did like a keep alive every maybe 5-10 seconds. That's like 100 web calls every second, which isn't that much. So, what is the best way to do this? So the other issue I'm seeing with TCP is it's very hard to, I don't know, we have to kind of keep that connection alive. Manually kick and reconnect. That could work, but that manages everything for server and client data. What do you mean by that? Does it like synchronize everything? Oh, so it's a socket library to kind of send stuff back and forth. Yeah, if you wanna link that, we can pull it up and see if that'll work. Let's see here. TCP listener, UDP, sockets. I don't really want to do sockets. And then Unity stuff. What? I think doing the TCP stuff is probably the best. So if I create a TCP listener just for testing, we have to open up a port. What port do we want to use? Well, I guess I can specify that. Int. Let's do something fun. We can make our ports leet. I'm sure that's used by like 30 applications, so that's probably not the best, but we're gonna go with that. If you get that library working and you want to ping it to me, I'll check it out. But I'm gonna move forward with this because otherwise we're just gonna sit here. So let's see here. TCP listener. Use IP address port. Okay. If at first you don't succeed, just plug in random values. There we go. So we give it the IP to listen on and the port. That's interesting. I wonder what this means. What does listening on any port do? Let's see. TCP listener. Server null blah blah blah. So that just creates something listening locally and then starts it. And then we kind of looked at this previously because this is what I pulled in for DataSphere, which I don't know if I liked the way that worked. Let's see here. Parse. Let's do just the IP, and then I can plug that in from up here. So one of the things I've been considering, how do I ping it to you on YouTube? Do you have a link? You can either drop it there or message me on Discord or send me like a private message on YouTube. I don't know how to send private messages on YouTube, but it's a thing. I know I get them and then I respond to them, and I've sent one once. Doesn't allow you to put it in chat. Is it a link? I don't think I have links banned. I don't know. Good question. I don't know the answer, unfortunately. I don't live stream as much as I should. It's something that I mean to do more and more. I have some ideas on how we can expand that. So there may be more of these kind of things. I kind of want to do it more like this is super casual. I didn't really have a plan. Just kind of wanted to build things. There's going to be more of that. I think it's just more interesting to kind of be a little bit more fluid and agile than just going and being like, we're going to make this and take 30 minutes and build something. This way we can kind of change, and you guys can give some feedback. We can kind of chat, and then we can build whatever we want to, whatever that turns into. Let's see here. I don't know if this is a good idea. This seems like a bad idea, because this is going to break things, because this is a blocking loop, which is just going to stop inside of this while loop until we receive a message, which we don't want to do in the update. In the Discord chat. This thing? All right, let me drag it over there. Sure, there works. And then let's see how well I remember handling Unity resources. This is going to be fun. So I go into assets, gears. Is it plugins? I think it's plugins. And then you save it there. And then I should open it. Well, I think you put it in plugins, and that, oops. That was probably super loud. But if you put it in the plugins thing, it should just work. This is probably super secure, isn't it? Let me do some quick stuff. Well, that's not going to work. Oh, no. I have Visual Studio Community. I cannot inspect. Let me see here. Do you have the source? Can you just send me the source? That'd be much easier, because I can't inspect binaries anymore, because I'm not on Visual Studio Enterprise anymore. And apparently Community can't do that. That's too bad. Okay. We have a listener. Gonna get this working. Maybe. Okay, so I'd have to create a... That's no fun. Begin socket accept. I don't really... Nope, I don't really want to do this. What's my Discord name? I believe it's RuneWake 2? Yeah, RuneWake 2. Ah. People are messaging me all over the place. All right. Let's see here. Okay, so the way, just going off of this. Hello. So weird. The chat's over here, and then I wave at the camera. It's very, anyway. Anyway. I need to stop repeating. So, this listener thing, the async, the way this would work is there would be an object that I would create. Object value? Sure. But that would be there, and then I'd pass that in. And theoretically, this would get set before getting passed in. So then effectively you could reference it there. So I think that's how that would work. All right, so there's a client and a server. Got it. Doop. Let's drop this. Well, I guess we can do that there. Sorry, this is going to be weird, isn't it? And this in the server. Cool. And then we can check those out now. Ish. Cool. So, server. What is this doing? Oh, it's doing a lot of things. You must have spent a long time on this. Oh, you're doing it with pure sockets too. That's fun. So, if I'm understanding this, you're storing a list of client connections. We were talking about this actually on Discord. A little bit about how to keep like a list of connections open and stuff. This might help, I forget his name, but this might help him out or her out. So connector, disconnector, manager, initialize, disconnect. Send, accept, receive. Neat. Okay. So this is a really basic way to just send stuff to everyone, I believe. Right? No, this would send it to individual clients. Okay, cool. And then it sends just byte data. All right, let's see here. Connector, buffer size, clients, initialize, server, stuff like that. So regarding the Discord voice chat thing, I do actually want to like have a channel. So like when I do live streams, we can people can jump in there and chat. I don't want it to be streamed necessarily. So I don't want that to just automatically get put into the stream, because then somebody could come and like hijack that chat and just start like screaming into the stream, and I don't really want that because it's a public-ish Discord, so I don't really have the way to like filter that out. It probably isn't going to be a problem. I just don't want to deal with it if it becomes one, and so the easiest way I've found is just not to deal with it in the first place, not to create it. So once I figure out how to put myself in the chat without having the chat become part of the stream, then we can do that. So yeah, let's see here. Network ports. Okay, so I think I get what's going on here. Create a server, create a client, and then it's straight socket communication. How do you ensure? Oh, I didn't know you could do that. Well, that makes this way easier. So you can actually specify the protocol over the stream or the socket. I didn't know you could do that. Kind of curious now what. Because my understanding was you didn't really ever want to touch the socket class if you could avoid it. Because usually what would happen is you start working with sockets and then it wouldn't work out, just because sockets they're so low level, they're right after the networking layer, and so normally you want a protocol on top of that. But if you can stick the protocol in the socket implementation, then that's awesome, and I should use these more. So let's see here. What was I looking for? Socket. Okay, just the constructor? Well, that shouldn't have forgotten that. Where are you? There we go. So yeah, okay. So you can create it with the protocol. That's handy. Well, I guess I learned something. Always use sockets because it's better. See, but when I was learning about this, granted I was learning it, I was learning all my networking stuff in C++. When I learned that, it was the opposite. It was never touch sockets because you will regret it for the rest of your life. And most of that was just because it just added so much extra complexity. So, yeah, that's that. Let's see here. Okay, so this makes sense. So then you can send and receive information from individual clients. And then what does this do? Besides me opening another one. Clients, got the client, network address, that gets initialized. Port, that's kind of hard-coded, but it gets switched. Why do you, out of curiosity, why are you initializing the port and then setting it again here? Is there any reason you do that out of curiosity for my own knowledge? Connected, network address. This is neat. I like this. Thank you. This is cool. Buffers, size, connector, disconnector, manager. Okay, so the connector and the disconnector, if I'm understanding this correctly, your connector is going to handle what happens when something connects. And that's just an action that gets called. Yeah. Pretty sure. Like 95% sure. So the connector is an action, effectively, that happens when somebody connects. Let me see if I can find that. Unless that's called by the server and I totally overlooked it, which is probably what happened. So I would have to call these manually, these connection and disconnection events, these actions. I don't see them getting called anywhere. So I think we should be able to work with this though. So it's all done for me. Where? I can't be missing this. This has got to be. Connector. Oh. Is that what happened? No. Is it? Oh, it feels so silly. Bind. You can accept. Because I see these actions, but I don't see... Oh, wait. There it is. Never mind. We're good. We're good. I got it. It's right in front of me. Okay. So we know what this is going to do now. It's going to allow us to connect clients and disconnect clients and then do a bunch of other stuff. So now we need to figure out how to use it. So first let me drop this DLL, because that's just in everybody's way. And then let's connect it to our connection listener. So that can all stick around. But let's create a server. I assume this is yep. Cool. So it is namespaced. Like all good code, it's actually namespaced. Unlike all of my Unity code, it's namespaced. So, server, cool. This has been the longest start to a video I have ever done. New server. Initialize, I assume that's just gonna call it to initialize. Boom. Initialized equals initialize. So if it's not initialized, oh, I see. Okay. So you're doing a bunch of fun stuff in here in your properties. That's interesting. Huh. Okay. That makes sense. That's where I was missing. So when we set this initialized value, if it's true, then we initialize our server, assuming the server isn't already initialized. If it's not, then we do something else. And it looks like we disconnect all of our clients. Curious why this doesn't call the disconnect method, because you have a disconnect method down here. So I'll probably tweak this code a bit just to get my hands on it, and I kind of have my own style, but we'll see. For now, it should do what we need. So initialize, let's set that to true, sure. Reuse client session identifiers. True. Port, max connections. Let's go with 64 for now. Buffer size, good question. No idea what that ought to be. So we'll just set it to something random, 1024-ish, sure. Actions when things connect and disconnect. On client connect, on client disconnect, and the manager, I don't know what that is, so we're going to do on client manage. Sure. Let's create those functions. Boop. So now we have those. Don't know how we're going to handle this, because I think so these callbacks I think are going to end up on. Okay, so manage is when data is received. Okay, so we'll probably use this mostly for just connecting and disconnecting. We might send additional information. We might actually just be able to implement the entire thing in this actually. And then we'll see what happens. So let's see, on client connect. Let's take, first, let's fix these because that's just annoying. On client connect. Oh, because it's the server they're connecting to. Got it. And then that's the index of the client, I believe. We can figure this out pretty quickly. Server disconnector, when they disconnect, gives it this and the index. So you'd have to go and look up the client that was actually disconnecting. Okay, so let's do just a really basic test of this. do debug log, and let's actually just throw out, if I can, there we go. Let's throw out some basic information. Client connected, connection ID, and that's just going to be the argument that they're giving. So connection ID of not arg2. Let's use the client index. Sure. That's not going to work. Client index. Inder. There we go. Index. And then let's also, so we connect with that. Should we also look it up? Nah, we're fine for now. That should be all we need. So we connect. Let's throw a disconnect in there. Client disconnected. And that should be everything there. I'm going to comment that out just so we don't get random errors. And so this should automatically start the server if I'm reading all of that correctly. So we start our server, and then we're going to need somebody to connect. That will come later. And then we just print out when they connect and when they leave. So how does this handle like timeouts? Is that automatically handled as well? Well, I guess we'll figure that out when we get there, because we can test all of those scenarios. So there's that. That should be super basic client stuff, or server stuff. Sorry. Let's do what? There we go. Took it a while. Let's do a client connection. Actually, I don't really like that name. Why is Unity so slow right now? That's really, really weird. We're not using like any of our CPU, or my computer is fine, but we're dying. Let's create another one and call it the player client. So theoretically, we may not actually need to touch UNet, because this is all, well, we probably will, because this is all going to be over TCP, and I want all of that information over UDP, because UDP is a little bit faster than TCP because it doesn't have to come in order or anything. There's just extra layers to TCP that you don't need with UDP. So anyway, random rant about networking stuff. Client, that's not going to work. We're going to need that guy. Client. Let's give it a public string of server IP. I don't actually know what we need, but we're going to pretend like I know what I'm doing. All right, so we've got that. Public int port. Sure, that'll work. Restart Unity. I restarted my computer right before going live. I hope that's not the issue. My guess is I'm on the insider preview because I was doing a bunch of stuff with the Universal Windows Platform stuff, and I think that this build is a little bit questionable. I had to reinstall all my drivers, so we'll see. I'm sure there's like random issues that are just hiding. So if it becomes a problem, then I'll test it. Maybe I can restart Unity. That won't be that big of a deal. But we can see new client will automatically connect, do an IP address dot parse from our server IP. Cool. Network port, buffer size 1024, because that's what we did. On connect, on disconnect, and then on receive. I think that makes the most sense if it's just about receiving information. So if you're doing that, let's do just reception. Cool. Connects. Done. Debug. Log. Client. Connected. Received. Sure. Why not? And then client disconnected received. I don't think those are actually going to get called unless I do anything, because I don't think we're going to actually ever disconnect here. I hope we don't. It's my own internal thing. So let me start Unity back up. And then I think we should be able to at least connect. So you don't need to hold a reference to the client object or the server. So you made it a singleton? I'm not sure I follow you. Because, so even if you open up all of this, since there's no references to this object, even if you create the connection, but so I've run into this before, especially with the timer. There's a timer thread. So you'd create like a timer task or whatever, and you do that in like WPF or whatever. That gets created, and you're like, cool, it's going to fire. It fires for like 30 seconds, and then it just goes away. And that's just because the garbage collector ran and grabbed it. So I think I'm just going to keep the reference, because then we can kind of handle it and we can send information that way. I don't like just kind of hoping they do. Even singleton stuff, I kind of like to keep a reference to it, which that doesn't make any sense, but that's just me. So yeah, I'll probably keep it. All right, client, all of that's good. Now what? Guess we test it. Hope it works, right? Because I should be able to do client send and just send the bytes. Cool. And theoretically, we should be able to like use a serializable object in Unity to just kind of send that information. I agree that singletons in this case probably don't make the most sense. It actually probably, I wouldn't want that. But yeah, usually singletons are the only reason I would keep something around like that. Otherwise, I just prefer to keep a reference. So let's see here. We have our, oh, that's just something random. So let's see, smart camera, connection controller, connection listener, and our player client. So that should be enough to connect. So if I do start this, we should see some messages, assuming I have not completely screwed this up. Which may be the case. Switching to Dropbox, that's totally broke. Ignore that, that's something else. Let's see here. No messages. So my guess is that I have done something silly. Server. Dot initialize. I have to pass everything in again. That's interesting. Let's see here. Initialize, ooh, that's not right. Initialize is going to go here. Start accepting stuff. But it's different than this, which just sets everything to true. Oh, so you set it to false and then true so that it automatically triggers disconnecting everyone. Can you see the code again? Sure. So here's the client. It's great. Connects automatically, I think. Yes. And then we have the other guy, which got kicked off the screen. Nice. Connection listener. That's not right. But he's just listening again. So I think all of this is correct. I think I'm missing something. Pretty sure I'm missing something. So we will see. Try using my local IP. Okay. Let me not display my IP. Let's see here. Local. Go to Unity, grab this, drop it in, and we should be good. So let's see what happens. We get that. So what I'm wondering is, my guess is that both of these are trying to start at the same time. And there's a race condition. So I'm going to actually move this out of there and do a public bool init. Set that to false. And then if init, let's create our client and then set that to false. So this is just a really quick toggle so we can actually turn it on. Because my guess is that even though they're both starting simultaneously, they're starting too quick. And so the server is not accepting. Does that make sense? That might not make sense. I don't think that's right. Hold on. Oh, okay. I was right. Cool. Cool. So connection ID equals 0. That works. We connected. Everything should be good. And then if I click this again, we should get a disconnect, I think. Nope, we connected again. And again, and again, and again, and again. Nice. Okay. That might be a bug in my code. That is a bug in my code. Because, let me do it this way. So if client is equal to null, then we'll initialize a new one. Otherwise, and this is just totally random at this point. Let's do this dot, that's going to disconnect. Is there a way to disconnect? No, it doesn't look like there is. Cool. So let's do that. I think I'm going to need to add on to this. Also, you should, if you have like a link or something, I'll stick some sort of like annotation somewhere in the description for this video, just so you have some credit for this. So if you want to have like a link or something to this project or like your own website or something, shoot me a message and I can drop that there. Just that way you get some sort of credit for this. Connected equals false. Okay, that's interesting. You do a lot of work in these properties. That's interesting. I haven't seen that in a while. So, this isn't going to work. Because we're just going to connected equals false, I guess. By the way you have it designed, this should work. I don't want to do that. Let's do connect. IP address, parse, server, IP, port 1024, on connect, on disconnect, and on receive. There we go. So we'll disconnect and then we'll reconnect. All right, so just your name then. All right, that works. Cool. Let's see here. Run this. So what I'm thinking is it should disconnect every time now. So when I click this, we'll connect. If I click it again, we just connect again. Let me check that again. Okay, that makes sense. So if it is not initialized, so if the value is false, then we close the connection, set the client equal to null, and we disconnect it. You're saying my toggle. Did I screw something up? I probably screwed something up. That seems... What about the toggle? Let's see here. If true, connect, begin receive. Interesting. So we disconnect, we connect. That should all be good. Now if I start this, so you want me to get rid of this and do something like this, equals true. Okay. So disconnect and then reconnect. That makes sense to me. Curious why the connect wasn't working though, but we'll sort that out later. For the most part, I'm just trying to get my head around this and kind of figure out what we can do. Connect. It's still saying connected, so I don't think we're getting that disconnection, which is fine, I guess. But we're probably gonna want that for people like connecting and then like, I don't know, leaving for the night, but we'll see. For now though, I think this is enough that we can actually work with this. So one thing that I'm kind of curious about, how do things get removed? So it resizes the array. This could be, so one of the things that I'm slightly, well, wait, hold on. Never mind, that just resizes it to 0. We want, where is it? initialize, disconnect, send, disconnect. So do clients ever get removed? Okay, so they don't get moved around. That's good. Good. There is a disconnect. Am I not? Oh, hey. Ha. Yes, there is. Okay. Never mind then. I should make clearer log messages. My bad. Oops. Okay. So I think what we're going to do is probably store the index of the client that's connected. It doesn't look like those clients will move around, so that should be, as long as they're connected, their ID should not change. So effectively what's going to happen is they are going to send a message, say, I want to connect. They will connect. We'll store that, and they'll send in some information. So we're going to need to actually create something to send, which is going to be this guy, client connection, or connected player. So this is actually going to be serializable. I think that's correct. That may not be correct. Right, so they will get reused, which is fine. I just don't want, like, say client 0 connects, and then client 1 connects, and then client 0 disconnects, and then it resizes and moves client 1 to 0 index. If that was happening, like if it was just a closely grouped list without any other ID, using that ID it'd be volatile, and I wouldn't want to do that. But since it's an array that just grows and doesn't shrink, we should be fine, I think. So I don't think we'll run into any issues there yet. So yeah, I think we're good. I'm going to create a connected player, which is going to be a string for their name. Let's see here, public color, primary color. Let's give them a primary and a secondary, because I'll show you why in a second. So the player has 2 colors, if I can get in here. So they have like this green here, which is their shoulder color, and then they have their head, which is the big primary color. So ideally, you'll be able to customize both of those. So like right now it's green and blue, but maybe you want, I don't know, a pink head and like yellow shoulders for whatever reason. So if this is you now, everything works. Obviously the light will need to change as well. So yeah, now that we have that, theoretically, I want to be able to pass that information in. So we can have a color picker. Person can say, I want to be this, and it will actually show them. That way they can more easily identify themselves instead of just, you are first player, so you are blue, or you are second player, so you are green, or whatever. I don't really want that to happen. So we're going to give them a name, those 2 colors. Do I want anything else? I think this is fine for now. So that's it. Just the name, primary color, secondary color. We're good. I'm feeling like serializable. There's something that I'm missing, I think. But Unity expects you to implement something to make things serializable. Maybe it's that attribute, but I might be missing it. So I was thinking of using JSON, but like those kind of like human readable formats, they tend to get big really quickly. Like, so if I tried to store like a color in JSON, we're talking a fairly complex object actually, which then has to be parsed and reparsed. Whereas if I can just like serialize it as bytes, everything gets a little bit easier. Or it gets faster, I guess. It's not necessarily easier, but then we aren't, I don't know. We could serialize JSON. There's nothing stopping us. Like there is the JSON utility. I think, yeah, you just mentioned it. So we could use that and it works. But if we can stick to like just byte encoding, a color is just 32 bits, whereas in JSON, a character I think is 32 bits or close to it. I think it's Unicode, so I think it changes, but concatenate the byte arrays. Okay, I'm curious what you're talking about. Let's find out. So you're saying a bit converter and saying like to something, which, okay. So just serializing it out, serializing out the bytes to something. So if we did the JSON thing, this gets super easy because I can serialize it like this and just say to JSON this and do whatever. But then if I want to deserialize it, then I just do that of our connected player of some string. Cool. There we go. So that would be how that would look. I don't know how it would look if I wanted to serialize it for bytes. The bit converter would get the bytes for, I think, primitive types, but I don't think it works for, say, a color. So if I give it a primary color, I don't think that works. I don't think Unity's extended it to work like that. But there is a way in Unity, I'll probably look it up and do it later, where you can serialize things and then just have it kind of stay there. So effectively what would happen is we would tell like to JSON or not to JSON, but we would effectively serialize the thing into the bytes. And that's predefined because it's serializable, which I think it's been too long since I've used it, but there's a way that it actually figures out what to write where, and then we can get it back. We could use protobufs. Protobufs would solve this. That might be a little bit beyond what we need, but that would work. Let's see here. For now, I don't really need any of that. I'm going to add one final thing here, which is just our date time. And that will be the do I want that there? Because this is the shared data. This is what is shared between client and server. So I don't think I want like the connected date. That'll be on the server side only. So next fun thing we get to do, we have this connection listener. And I was going to just talk about you. So let's do the connection pool, which is going to effectively store all of our clients and then provide us with a way to actually get them and figure out what order they're in. And that way people can do fun things. So I guess we can create a private queue. Priority queue. That doesn't exist. I thought we've done this before. So priority queue, C#. Sorry, this is not on stream. I probably should have done that. Okay, that's being annoying. Huh. Private messaged over Discord. Let's see. Int from color. Okay, I get what you're doing. That makes sense. Okay, so, yep. So effectively what Muhammad is doing is he is taking... So a color is just an integer. That's the easy bit. So when you're serializing a color, you don't need to actually serialize a color. You just need to take the color and convert it back to an int. And so every single color value is actually just an 8-bit value. So 8 times 8 times 8 times 8, or plus 8, is 32. And so effectively what you can do is just take each value, so the R, and shift it 24, the blue, and shift it 16, and so forth, and just shift over 8 each time. And then obviously at the end you get A, which is just not shifted at all. And then if you OR those together, you get your integer, which you can then serialize to a byte. So that's how that works. Let's see here. Connection pool, linked list. Let's do a connected player. Sure. I don't know why this is in the shared folder. This isn't going to be shared, but whatever. So we'll create players. And then I think we can... Will this work? Yeah, this will work fine. So let's do void enqueue. And so what this is going to do is when something happens, we're going to enqueue a player. So our player gets connected. We need to actually add them to the list. So let's add last player. Get them in. Let's see here. One final thing. Public bool playing. And so this is just going to be to signify somebody is playing. Is that a good idea? It might not be a good idea. Let's take that out. Never mind. Ignore me. Going crazy. So connected players is our list of players. We want to enqueue at the last. And so the first person in the list is going to be the first person up to play, I think. So we'll have another one. Linked list. Connected player of current players, and we'll make this waiting players, which might not be the best way to do it, but it will work. And so effectively what's going to happen is if there is a waiting player and there's space for the current players, it will pull somebody from the waiting players from the front of the waiting players queue and stick them into the current players, and then they'll play. And so you can only exist in one of these lists at the same time. If you're in both, something broke. That's how that goes. So yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking. I think we already designed this sort of priority queue structure. I'm kind of designing it again, partially because I kind of want to just go over it again and kind of make it more based off of the learnings that I've had. Yeah, that's sort of the reason. I don't know. Let's see here. Void, if I want to take somebody off, so if somebody disconnects or just wants to be removed, we're going to do the current players remove player. And I guess we can do it for the waiting players too. And so that will just handle disconnects. So if you disconnect for whatever reason, it will pull you out, and then somebody else can take your place. So if you're in the current players, you have an actual thing. If you don't, then you aren't currently playing. Let's see here. Void play. Let's actually do a connected player begin playing. And so this is going to return null if there's no available players to play. So if for whatever reason there aren't that many people in the stream, then it's null and we don't do anything. But otherwise, it's going to return a connected player that can actually, let's do it this way. Because this way we can get rid of the null. That wasn't what I wanted. Let's do connected player of our player. And so what this will, we can just do out. There we go. So it will return true or false. True if we find somebody to keep playing. False if there's nobody in the queue. And that's just, there's starvation. There's not enough people to play. And then you get just like 3 people playing, or 2 people playing, or 1 person playing, or nobody playing, in case nobody shows up, which I'm guessing is going to happen more than I'd like. So let's see here. Current players. Well, first we need to find somebody. So can we just take the first person off of this? Is there any reason we can't take the first person? I think we can, sure. So let's do it this way. If our waiting player is .count, or I think there's a empty. I thought there was a is empty or something. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Whatever. If count is greater than 0, then there's somebody there. So let's grab them. So in this case, our player is going to equal waiting players dot first. Doesn't seem to like that. Oh, ha. Because it's property. And now it doesn't like it again. What have I done? Gotten a linked list node. So we're going to take the value of the first element in our linked list and pull it out, set that as the current player, and then remove them. So pop them off of our queue. Is there any reason this can't be a queue? Nope. Okay, we're going to go with that. And that way we can just do NQ and DQ and everything is great. Peak, trim, DQ, contains. Why is there no is empty? That would be so nice. All right, so DQ our connected player. So player equals waiting players.dq. Pull it off the list. We're good. And then if our player is not null, I don't know if this is going to work. I think I might be misremembering queues. But we can actually just return player not null. So if we found somebody, then it's not null, and then we return true. Otherwise, it's false. So last thing I need to do is actually... So maybe I'll ask you guys this. I've been considering two ways of doing this. Either just throw the next person into the game and see what they do. So like if they're not ready, they're just dead almost immediately. But that kind of hurts everybody else in the game. Or we could do, if you die, there's like a 3-second ready check where you have to actually like click a button or say, yes, I'm ready. And if you don't hit that, then it just jumps to the next person. It just skips you. We can do that. But if we do that, then we can't enqueue them, or we can't add them to the current players yet. We'd have to wait. So if you guys would, I don't know, if you think it's a good idea to have like some sort of like lever check. So if somebody's like going and grabbing a bag of chips or going to the bathroom or whatever, that would kind of catch those people. Otherwise, we don't catch them at all. Except when they die almost immediately, which maybe that's intentional. Maybe that's a good thing. So I don't know if you guys have ideas. You'll need an idle check either way. So there will be an idle check, but this is going to be more, are you ready to jump into the game right now? So think of it sort of like League of Legends. Like when you get into a game, it asks you if you're ready or not. And that's more to check so you don't get into a queue and do all the bans and everything and then realize, oh, this person isn't here. That would be sort of what this would fill, compared to waiting till you get through everything and then it happens. For now, actually, it'd be easy. It's easy enough to add it in later. So it might be best, just for time's sake, it might be best not to implement that. And then we can kind of see what happens, see how people are actually playing this and kind of interacting with it to figure out what we need to implement instead of just doing it now and kind of assuming a bunch of things. Let's kind of hold off on a decision. So we'll just kind of add this to our current players. Is that a good idea? If I do it here, then I'd have to change this. Let's not do it here. Let's do it in the next step up, the next layer up. So, yeah. DQ. Waiting players dot, We did not consider this. I did not consider this. There's no... So there's no way to pull something out of the middle of a queue. So that whole queue thing may need to not be there. Like, we want a queue, but if we use a queue and somebody disconnects, they're in the middle of it. And they'll stay in the middle of it until we do something about that. So instead, let's go back to the linked list. This is why it's nice to design the system beforehand. So we could use an array. An array would work, but then we have to like manually shift everything in the array. So as we're going to keep like shifting people off the front, and then we'd have to shift the entire array in memory by that player. I don't know if I want to do that. That's the reason I'm not. That's why we're using an array list instead of an array, or we're using a linked list instead of an array list. And we could dequeue and requeue everybody, but that just seems, I don't know. I don't really want to do that. Like, yes, it would work. And technically the algorithm is as fast as what I'm doing right now because it's just defined effectively. But I don't want to do that. Let's see here. Waiting players. Begin playing. Let's dot first. If player is not null, then waiting players dot remove first. We want to grab the value again, and we just pull the first person off. So if we found if there was somebody in the first step, then we pull them off. Otherwise, we don't. I don't like this idea. Let's do waiting players dot count greater than 0. So if there's somebody there, then do all of this. Otherwise, do that. And if we eventually find a player, then return it. Otherwise, don't. So otherwise, player equals null. Cool. And that should never happen anymore. We shouldn't get a null there. If we do, I have done something awful. And then an exception is perfectly acceptable. So if there's somebody waiting, pull them off, remove them from the list. Otherwise, just set it to null and return false. Cool. Remove. We can add that back. Everything's great. Cool. And then we want to stop playing afterwards. So stop playing, we're going to have our connected player that's going to stop, which means we're going to take our current players, there we go, and remove the player. And then we're going to take our waiting players and add that guy to the last. And so what happens is when you lose, you end up at the end of the line. I've been thinking there might be like some fun like chat games. So maybe you like bet on the next person who's going to die for whatever reason. And if people that get it right move forward an additional step, and people that get it wrong move backwards an additional step or something like that. Fun things like that I've been kind of considering, but we'll see. That's probably way down the line, and it will depend on how people are actually playing it. Because a lot of those kind of interactions are going to need a larger audience than 4 or 5 people. So we'll see. But this should be everything that we need for the connection pool. Now we just need to connect this to our controller, or not our controller, to our connection listener, so that the connection listener, as it gets connections, creates these connected players. And then as people disconnect, it pulls them back out. And then we just keep doing that. So what will that require? We're going to need to send over the player data, because effectively it's connect. And then once you connect, you have to send your information and be like, all right, I've connected. Here is who I am. So it's sort of a 2-step process. If you look at like the network diagram, it'd be client connects to server, server says you connected, and then client says, here's who I am. Server says, okay. And then kind of waits until they get in. So that's sort of how that whole stack goes. Let's see here. Player client. Is this what I want? Probably. So when we connect, that's set that to the client. Data, and I don't know what that is. We can work with that. Client. The manager. What do you do? You manage things. Okay, so that's the size. Got it. So if I jump over to not that. Or that. This is silly. I should just get better at not going to the wrong thing. But it's just faster to go this way than to go through Visual Studio's own thing. Actually, I think there's a fast way. That's not it. I'll figure it out later. Let's see here. So we connect. Here's our size of the input received. So once we connect, sending client information. Is this a good idea? If I because effectively what I'm thinking is we want to have a connected player. So player, new connected player. And then just set stuff. Ooh, that's not right. So player equals, that's not right. Player name equals me. The player dot primary color will just be like color dot red, for example. All of these are just example things, just so we can see that stuff is getting across. And let's send, what's a good thing to send? Magenta? Sure. So that will be our player, I guess. What we can do then is do client send. And so this is going to send some stuff. For now, we can do to.json on that player. And that gets us a JSON encoding, so just straight text. What we need to do then is do like, ooh, there's a text encoder that I'm looking for. ANSI encoder. That's not it. That's because it's ASCII. Encoding.convert. Cool. Convert to that. And theoretically, we would send that. Nope. Okay. I was hoping if I just stared at that long enough, it would just work. I don't think that's going to work. C# text encoding. Encoding, getting coding. I don't need any of this. C# string to bytes. That's not what. Do I want to go there? Not really. Let's go here. I guess that will work. We should be able to Yeah, so there's a convert dot to bytes. That's not it. There's a conversion from base 64 string. That'll work. So this will convert our JSON object into a string, and then we'll send it. And then we're going to need to reuse him in our, where is it? Come on. Client connection, no. Okay, we're going to have to go fishing again. Connection listener. When it receives a message, we're going to have to figure out what these mean because I did not name them. I know this is our message, which I think actually we might just be able to use that. Dot. Oops. Ah, stop hitting buttons. All right, let's do toString. And this will convert our bytes, I'm hoping. Yes. So if I convert our message to a string, debug.log, we're just going to log out that JSON object that we received. And hopefully we get what we expect. Ah, okay. So I was using the wrong encoder because I was using the ASCII encoder, not encoding.ascii. Okay. We can try that. So you think that's, so encoding.ascii. Oh, get it. It is a converter, get bytes. That makes sense. I think we'll use that. And so this is just making sure everything is ASCII encoded when you send it. It's kind of specifying it. You can use like UTF if you want or whatever. But this way it's kind of a uniform way you know what you're getting and you know what you're sending instead of sending random stuff and getting random stuff. Theoretically, we should, I might just be making this up, but we should be able to actually connect from other people now instead of using like C#'s defaults. By doing this, we're actually specifying enough information that other people could connect from other sources. So like Java could connect if we ever wanted that to happen. So now we just need to get this back to a string, which I need to figure out how to do quick. Get bytes, get characters, get string of the bytes. Done. Cool. So, on a scale of 1 to 5, how confident are we this works? About a 2. But we're going to try it anyway. All right. So, theoretically, we connect. Yay, it's all good. Ish. Switch to our console. When I hit this, we should see it connect, and then we should see it transmit the message that we expect to. This. Yes. Awesome. So we get this information on our server now. And so what this does is it says, I'm connecting, I'm me, I've got a primary color and a secondary color. Here's all my information. And as you can see, like this doesn't look that long, but each of these characters is like 32 bits, 16, 8, but actually it's ASCII, so it's probably 8 bits, which is a lot more information than we would need, because effectively we're just storing a string, which is 2 characters. So that's 16 bits plus another 64 for our 2 colors. So there's not much actual there. There's not much information there. Whereas with this, we're storing a lot more information. So it's slower, probably, and there's more decoding and stuff, but it probably doesn't matter. So we might just leave it. Let's see here. I should be able to keep, oh. I broke it. Oops. Ah, that's not good. I'm going to kill Unity quick, because that is not going to stop. Looks like we got a recursive loop. So our client keeps sending information, it looks like. It doesn't look like they're disconnecting correctly. That's interesting. Huh. I'm curious what would cause that. My guess is they're living beyond like the total game lifespan, and that's causing them to continue to exist. But that's just a random hypothesis. So there's actually, we can solve that on disable server dot let's see here. We want initialized equal to false. Void on enabled. Server initialized true. So, theoretically, this will disable our server and re-enable it again when we do that. I'm going to copy this over to our client as well. And that should hopefully catch those things so we don't have to worry about them as much. And that way, if we like disabled the client in the game for whatever reason, they go away. So connected equals false and connected equals true. In before, I totally regret this decision, but because this creates its own separate potential errors. So we'll see. Make sure the constructor doesn't initialize it. It definitely is. False. But if it's doing that, this should be fine. We'll server dot initialized true. So that should be fine-ish. This is going to put to trial my Unity knowledge about the life cycle of an object. Will onEnabled get called before start or after start? I don't actually know. I think it's going to be before, which could be interesting. That should give us null pointers. So if we get null pointers, then we know it's wrong. Otherwise, it's happening afterwards, and then we're fine. One way to find out. We got no errors, so clearly that's fine. Change start to awake. I suppose that would work. So for those that aren't familiar, awake gets called, I believe, shortly after the object gets actually created. Start gets called immediately before the first update of the object. So when your object gets created, that could be, usually I think that's at the end of the frame, whereas start will get called directly inside of the update loop during the first update, whenever that is. So that's the difference. Did it solve our error? Nope. If we initialize it twice, we send a ton of messages, and then it stops. So the good news of all of this is that that fix I put in worked. We still get the infinite loop. So I think this is causing the issue. That turn off and turn back on, I think that's what's causing it to blow up. So we'll see. I don't really want to fix that right now. So we'll move on and do something else. I'll probably start wrapping this down because it's been, how long? About 2 hours. So we've been live for about 2 hours. I'll probably slowly start winding this down, and then I can figure out where to go. I'll probably read up a little bit more about the code and get a little bit better grasp of how all these clients and servers are speaking to one another. But effectively what we have, or are going to have before I turn this off, is we are going to have a pool of connections. And so the cool thing is that once we have that pool of connections, we should be able to actually connect things. Don't forget to make sure the client doesn't auto-connect. The client definitely auto-connects. But then they won't connect at all if I do it this way. Ooh, side effects. Let's see here. Connect. Does all that fun stuff. Let's see here. I want to actually take everything from the listener and get it into our connection pool. So let's connect that. So this is going to be a little bit harder than just plugging in the person. So let me see here. String JSON. We're going to just decode the message. Grab that. I'm going to still print out received new client connect information. So effectively, this is just going to be, hey, look, I got this new information. And then we are going to want to actually parse that. So JSON utility from JSON of our player client. That's not right. Connected player. So we're going to take our connected player, parse them from our JSON, and say, here's our connected player. And actually, do I want to do it this way? Put initializer code into awake. Okay. We can do that. We should probably do that anyway. So that's not doing anything there. That's fine. All right. So our connection listener, we get our connected player. There's our player. That's not how that works. There we go. So we have our player. How do we want to do this? I think Unity event. Connected player. Player connected. Let's try that. So I'm going to make a public Unity event for when somebody connects. And theoretically, we can use that to plug into anything else. Maybe. I don't know if this is a good idea, but I kind of want to try it out. So we're going with more of like a reactive style. So we're going to invoke this with our player, but only if player connected is not null. And that's just standard C# error handling code. So if it's not null, invoke it. Otherwise, don't bother. So that should expose a event handler. No? There we go. What? So I can connect the connection pool, but I was expecting the event. Oh, does that not? I may have forgotten. I don't think Unity supports generics in these event things. Because I can do this, and I think it'll show up. Player.connected.invoke. The Elvis operator. We could try that. I don't think that works, though. Because I don't think Unity supports C#6. We're still on Unity 5.6, so you don't get that feature yet. So we're still stuck with the good old method. So let's see here. That won't work. We can't do this because Unity does not allow generic arguments to this event. So it does, but then it doesn't expose them in the inspector, which defeats the entire point. So we get our connection pool, and then I'd get the thing and I'd call it, but we can't do that because no generics, so let's just drop that. Instead, let's do if our pool is not null, and we'll just directly call it. So pool dot. I need to make some things public. Let's see here. Public NQ, public, and public. Cool. So all of that's good. Connection pool dot NQ. Let's get our player in there. That should all work. Let's drop a breakpoint and then just verify. And so this will be sort of like the last thing to do, is just drop a connect to our service and make sure it gets dropped into the connection pool. Once we verify that's happening, everything should be good, because that means that a player can connect, can send their information. Their information can be interpreted and then added to a connection, a pool of connected players. And then with that pool of connected players, we can then go and do things. So I'll probably stop after we verify this, and then we can probably figure out where we're going next, what we're planning on doing with that, and all of that fun stuff. That's input stuff. We can skip over that. Let's connect. Sending client information. Oops. Did I break it? I might have broken it. Start on connect. That gets sent over here. So my guess is that that was null. So let's try this again. Boop. Oh, we didn't get it at all. I think I broke it. One thing. Initialized equals true. Initialized equals true. Gonna jump in here. Let's see here. If value. So let's just stick a quick guard in here. So if initialized is equal to the value, then let's return. So we don't need to do anything if it's already equal to itself. So if you just call initialize like 3 times, it will just skip over that. Because I think that might be causing some issues. And maybe the client is having that same issue, but I don't think. I think it's the server. And I think it's because we moved it to that awake. And so because of that, I think we're probably getting that call twice. And one of the references, or the first one is there, and then the second one kind of destroys it. There we go. We're back. It worked. And I didn't have the breakpoint. So we're going to need to do all that again. Stop. We're going to need to do all that again, but it should have worked. Like 95% sure it worked. Why am I whispering? I don't need to be whispering. All right. Let's try that again. I didn't start debugging again. It's fine. I didn't actually kick it off. So I hit this. Send the information. I think there's an error somewhere that we're eating that's getting just kind of eaten by something, and then we'll figure it out. Because that doesn't seem right to me. So we're able to send it, but we never actually get any information on the other side of the pipe. So, client send. I think, first off, that's not the right method. So, to be on enable, not on enabled. That's why. There we go. Get those working. And then, this is still broken. False, true, blah, blah, blah. Initialize it, and then we should be good. But something is causing... what is it? I think I'm gonna pull this out and stick it in our... Where's our server? There it is. In here. Because I'm curious what's going to happen. This is probably not a good idea, but we're going to do it anyway. And this is just for testing's sake, because I don't want to use breakpoints, because I don't know. So we should see that once. client.connected equals true if client is not null. That's important. Otherwise, this makes no sense. Because if we haven't initialized, we definitely can't reference it. Cool. Finding all sorts of errors. So, I think, I don't know. There's so many things we have to consider when doing this. Okay, that one worked. Oh, is this that? Oh, yeah. Okay. So, let's talk about Visual Studio. Visual Studio connects to your process over pipes and over your socket. It creates a socket to your program effectively. And I think this is how like Java's debugger works too. But what's happening is when I try to connect, it's not coming through. And this isn't a problem with anything in any of the libraries we're using. It's a problem with Visual Studio taking it and getting rid of it. So the information doesn't end up where it should. I don't know what causes it. I just know we've run into this error before, and that's probably what's happening here. So effectively, it just poof, it's gone. But it works fine as long as you're here. So let's go old school and just verify it this way. So debug log enqueuing player in waiting player list. Oops, let's add the name just for fun. So player.name, cool. They're getting queued. We know who's waiting now. It should tell us. We should know. Everything should be great. It's going to totally work. Trust me. I've never been wrong before. I've been wrong all the time. Okay, awesome. So we now have players that are getting enqueued into our connection pool. Now we just need to, probably tomorrow, either work on building out the level or work on taking these connected players and actually establishing a full connection to them using Unity's UNet connection. And then once we connect that way, then we can actually go and do everything. So once those players get connected, we can actually create these player objects, and they can actually like run around. This isn't working. There we go. So they can actually run around and shoot things and do all sorts of fun stuff. And then like the cool thing is the only thing we're really networking here is like the input. So it's like the most basic of multiplayer ever. Since all of everything else is being simulated on the host machine, you don't need to like sync up all the enemies or anything. You can literally just create a normal top-down shooter and then just plug this in, and theoretically it works. So I'm hoping that we can kind of get to that point later, probably sometime over the weekend. So if we can get like all the networking bits worked out by the weekend, then we can actually build the game out until Thursday when the jam ends, and then hopefully continue to improve it later. Because a lot of the interactive elements, the things where the chat comes and like tries to kill you, that's all going to come later after we get the actual game working. Because I have it so you can click the buttons. So you can click these buttons here. And those only appear when you're playing. But you can click those buttons. It works on mobile too. But you can click them, and we'll actually receive it in Unity. So the game actually, I don't display anything, but it actually does notice that you clicked these. And I think that's useful because once we get that, we can actually do things with it. So yeah, that's coming up probably next week. It'll probably be one of the last things we do actually, because I'd like to get the interactive thing, get it so you can actually play this, and then get it so the game is fun and not too challenging, because there is that lag, and the lag it's noticeable, but it's not, in my opinion, it's not enough to make the game unfun. And then getting the actual interactive bits so people can like send a horde of whatever we do as the enemies at you. Probably be like either robots or zombies, because everything uses robots or zombies and they are the best. So yeah, if you guys have ideas, let me know. You can jump in the Discord, and I try to stay relatively active there. There's a link on most of my videos, probably on this one. Is there? I don't think there is. I may have forgotten that. Yeah. Okay, so there isn't. So never mind. You can go to one of the other videos and grab the link, or there's the about page for the channel. But yeah, this game is going to be pretty much what we're doing this week, because it's Game Jam. I don't really have much choice. So that's where we're going. And if you guys have ideas, I'd love to hear them, because I kind of am making this up on the spot. If this stream was not at all representative of that, it's all just kind of, I don't know, pulling things together and seeing what happens. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. So if not, then sorry. I don't know. I guess, I don't know. I'm not really going to go on about that, but that's it. I don't know. Do you guys have any questions? I can stick around for a bit. If you guys have questions and want to throw them out, I can try to answer them. I don't really have anything after this. So I can stick around for a bit. I don't really want to work more on this, because I want to the next step is kind of figuring out how to actually build the player and actually get them into the game, and handling all of like the death situations, the disconnects and stuff. And I kind of want to have more of a concrete idea of what's going to happen for that. So if there's anything you guys have to ask me or whatever, we can do that. If you have like questions about other videos or other things you want to see, we can talk about that quick. Otherwise, I'll probably just jump over and do some other stuff. I've been playing way too much Sorrento in VR, which is fun. Can we possibly get a private voice channel? Maybe. So I have one for so some of my friends are already on the Discord. We kind of use it just for maybe we want to do like a game or something. So yes, but I don't necessarily know when. I guess we could, so I could do like a private thing with verified people that have been helpful in chat or in stream or whatever, and kind of be like, these people can do this. I'd much rather just have it be like an open channel though. So people could jump in and ask questions, or there could just be a general chatter going on. I don't actually know if that's a good idea or not. But I'd like to keep it more open. I don't want to start erecting those walls yet, because it's still a very small. We're still small. I think we just broke 1,000 subscribers, which is huge for me, because it was right around the goal that I had set right when I started the channel. But it's still in YouTube space. It's still small, so I don't want to erect that barrier and take the 8 people that are watching the stream and say, you 2 can chat and you 6 can't. I don't want to do that. So so as far as voice chat goes, if we're talking about something in Discord, I can jump into the voice chat and we can talk about it. That's not so much the problem. I just don't want to be in the voice chat and just have it blaring and kind of covering up the stream. I think that kind of detracts from it. Maybe you guys disagree, but I don't know. I have no questions. Okay. So I don't know. Turn voices down. Like, I don't know. That would work, but it's such a hard. It's a hard thing for me because I feel like there's so many people that have different opinions. Like some people like music in the background, some people don't. And definitely when you have other people chatting, it's distracting, and I don't necessarily want that. But at the same time, I kind of like there's a value there to the voice chat, but I don't know. It's something that I need to think about. It's not something that I don't want to just throw it out there, I guess. If that makes any sense. I don't want to just like do something and kind of try to solve the problem with the way that is the easiest. I want to kind of figure out what's the actual problem here and how can we actually fix it. So maybe it is just create a public channel and then have that in the background. Maybe it's something else, like a public channel that is muted in stream. Maybe it's a private channel that people that are helpful are in. I don't know yet. So that's just something we have to work on. So I don't know. Suppose I could have made the video bigger. I feel like so I moved my camera. When I reset everything up after the 4th of July, and now it's higher, but it's kind of tilted up. I feel like it just moved everything down. And I'm super short. I don't know if it comes out in stream, but I'm small, so it just makes me feel really short. I should just raise the chair. Anyway, random comment of the day. Yeah. I think that's it for now. So thank you guys for tuning in and watching. Thank you for helping, especially thanks to you, Muhammad. Super big help. I'll make sure to drop a little credit or something so you can tick that box or whatever. We'll have to talk about like licensing and stuff, because I don't want to just like open source this and then have your code there and you not be okay with that. So we'll have to talk about that probably in private. But other than that, yeah, that's that. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have other ideas for like random stuff you want me to make. Let me know. Like I say that all the time, but I actually do mean it. Like if there's stuff that you guys are like, I want to learn this, I may not get to it right away. I may not ever get to it, but I'm trying to like figure out what people want and hope like, so let's talk about like why this channel exists. I guess that's a good thing. We can talk about that. So like I didn't really make this as sort of like a tutorial channel. That wasn't really the point. It was sort of a way for me to kind of make things. And so it was sort of like, I want to come and like make things and kind of take some of like that let's play like energy and like randomness, almost like the sporadic, like we're going to do this and then we're going to do this and then we're going to do this. And so like there's an agility there, and I kind of wanted to capture that and kind of do that for programming. And so the tutorial nature of it kind of just happened because I talk a lot. Even on stream, I kind of talk a lot, and then my voice hates me, but I keep doing it. So that's sort of where it comes from. It was never intended to be a tutorial channel. It's kind of turned into that, and it's not, and it was never really designed as like a Unity channel either. That's also sort of coincidence. I really wanted it something that was sort of like, you come here to learn about like say voxel terrain or a grass render, and then you realize, oh look, there's something you could do in ASP.NET, or here's some IoT stuff. So quaternion interpolation, that's fun. Procedural animation, somebody was asking about that a while ago. and we were kind of chatting about it, and then we kind of lost touch. But I kind of want to do that. That would be super fun. As for the Vive, so this is for the summer slow jam. There is another one. I can actually bring it up. So it's 3 things done throughout the summer. Did that not work? Okay. Well then, one sec. We're gonna get this up here. So this is from a game it's a nonprofit in Portland, and they make games. So they do like these kind of things. So the first one was gadgets, didn't do that one. This one is the performance jam, which is all about like interactive stuff. But the next one is VR and augmented reality. So I've been considering doing it. These take a long time because they take like multiple weeks. So I don't know if we'll actually do that jam, but it'd be fun to do something with VR. I've been playing with it. I have Asteroids VR. I have a new release for that I've been kind of trying to re-solidify. Everything kind of fell apart because I kind of added a bunch of stuff and then it never brought it back together. But I have a Vive, and I've been playing with some augmented reality stuff too. So we can kind of take all of that and blend it into something. That's something I want to do. So, yeah. If you have ideas for like an AR or VR project, or you want to work on an AR VR project together, let me know, and we can work on that. I don't know what it would be, but I've got some ideas. So, yeah. I don't know. So, out of curiosity, how many of you use like our Vive developers? Are you guys augmented reality, Vive, VR developers, or just indie developers, or professional game developers, or do you do something else, or is that, I don't know. I'm kind of curious about that. Are you like a game developer? Is it your hobby, or is it your job, or is it, I don't know. Is it something you guys just like stumbled upon? An indie dev. Nice. We are one and the same. Well, that's not correct, but we are in the same boat. There was a big question mark at the end of that sentence, but okay. I don't know why boat is the thing. Since you were 9, you have me beat. When did I start? I think I started programming in 4th grade, so it would have been 9, 10. So yeah, it would have been right around when I was like 9 or 10ish, and I started working with Dark Basic, which I do not recommend. That was fun, but simulation for educational purposes. That sounds super awesome. That's something I was actually playing with a little bit. I never got super far into it, but especially for like VR, I think that's one of the big applications of it is being able to take like something that's super hard to do, like something that you can't really access. You can kind of make it more accessible just by, like, yes, the headsets are a little bit expensive, but they're way cheaper than like a spaceship. So I don't know. There's some cool stuff you can do there. With batch scripting. That sounds fun. I say fun. It's probably better than, like I did Dark Basic, and then I kind of jumped onto like the Game Maker train back in Game Maker 6 and 7. And then from there kind of did some Ascenthal engine, which was a C++ game engine. It's still around. It was actually super easy to use, which is why I got into it. And then I transitioned to Unity because I don't know, it got mature and stopped being questionable. Entertainment that isn't very interactive. I don't know. There's some VR games out there that are super interactive, like Gorn, Sorrento. What are some other ones? There's a boxing one. Like, granted, in some of those you're not really moving around that much, but like in Sorrento, you're jumping off buildings and stuff, and that's pretty interactive. Though I don't know if that's exactly what you meant. All right. Actually, let's check out the VR thing. I'm curious what they're using as examples. Snapchat filters. That'd be fun. So one of the things regarding like augmented reality, one of the things I suspect very few people remember this, but the first videos on this channel were about the audio game jam, which was a game where you were designed to make a game entirely around audio. So what we ended up making was it was an audio game where there was no art. It was a single shader that projected the colors of sound onto your camera. And so your camera was literally rendering like where the sounds were. And then you could like pick them up and place them. And then you'd share those worlds you created with other people. So people could like walk around your world. One of the things that I've been considering is like, what if you did that in the real world? So what if on your like smartphone or whatever, you had like a GPS tracker that could like play sounds, and then people could like go on like a run, for example, and use that as their soundtrack. So as they run or whatever, it continues to play like unique sounds, and they can even add to it as they do their thing. Or you could like maybe, I don't know, like mark a track with sounds, and so people could actually follow a trail based solely off of the sounds, because it'd be positional theoretically. And then you could like, I don't know, follow it. Don't know if that would actually work, but that's something I was thinking about for this, other than that, like VR stuff. So I don't know. Oh. All right. It looks like the questions are kind of winding down, so I will end the stream. Thank you guys for tuning in and helping out and just participating. That it really helps. It's one of the things I really like about the streams compared to just videos. There's a lot more back and forth, and we can kind of. It's not just like a linear path when you're doing a stream. It's kind of, I don't know, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. So it kind of bends as you go, and I kind of like that. And hopefully you guys do. It definitely is not like, I get these comments a lot, but it's not the same like linear path that like my normal videos take, where it's, we're going to create this and here's how. Granted, there's some mistakes and stuff that we cover there, but with this, it wobbles a lot more and branches out and does stuff. So I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully we can do more of these. It's just, I don't know. My schedule's a little bit weird, but we'll see. So thank you guys for showing up and contributing and all of that jazz. And I will hopefully see you guys tomorrow, because I think we're going to do this again. Hopefully with more planning. So, till then, see you guys.